Welcome to Urdu IT Academy's English for Professionals lecture number 11, Apostrophes, Commas, and Sending a Business Email. Let's review commas, apostrophe, and other quick grammar tips for writing an email. Today, we're going to write an actual email. I've already written it, we're just going to review it. We are going to discuss some things that you've already seen, but now that you have a better grasp of the grammar, I'm hoping that you will be able to write these things even better so that in lecture number 12, when we go over how to write a CV and resume, you guys are ready. In this lecture, you'll be able to use all comma rules properly, use apostrophes properly, write an email with proper grammar, punctuation, and English construction. What is the difference between these two sentences? Let's eat Grandpa and let's eat Grandpa. In one of these sentences, you are about to eat your grandfather, and in the other sentence, you are about to eat with your grandfather. Do you understand the difference? This is why commas are important. Commas naturally serve as a sort of space in between a sentence to separate ideas. In this, you're saying, let's eat, comma, Grandpa, in which you're implying that you want Grandpa to join you for dinner and not that you want Grandpa to be dinner. Commas are important. Commas can be confusing, but they follow certain specific rules. You use commas in a list after a colon. My mom told me to get these groceries: lettuce, tomatoes, rice, and meat. Notice that each successive item in our grocery list had a comma after it, except for rice. Because rice comes before the word and, which is a conjunction, we do not put a comma. Other than that, every item in the list that comes before the conjunction is going to have a comma attached to it. You use a comma to separate two related ideas. Notice in our first sentence, you use commas in a list, comma after a colon. Because these are two very related ideas, we can put a comma to separate them. In the beginning of a sentence, the comma is used to separate the subject from the verb and the object. This is going to be a tiny bit confusing, so you're going to have to listen. If the subject is not direct, that means he, she, I, they, we, or any subject like that, you will put a comma after the subject. Notice this: Jim and I went to the store. Since this isn't one of the direct subjects, we put a comma after it. Jim and I, comma, went to the store. That is just how English construction works, and you are just going to have to learn how to do it as you gain more experience. Commas can also add extra information, like this in the middle of a sentence. Sometimes in the middle of a sentence, you need to give more information that isn't necessarily necessary for that sentence to exist. So here, in the middle of a sentence, we put like this to tell you what kind of information could be extra in the middle of a sentence. And therefore, we separate like this from the rest of the sentence using commas before and after it. Apostrophes. An apostrophe is used to express ownership. This computer is Hamza's. I use the apostrophe to tell you that the computer belongs to me. An apostrophe can create a contraction in between two words. These are the only two uses for an apostrophe: either to express ownership or to combine two words. In English, there are 6 kinds of contractions: not, would, will, are, is, and have. There are other irregular contractions, but you don't have to know those. Here are the 6 common contractions: not, will, is, are, have, had, and would. You'll notice that all of them follow very similar patterns, and once you know them, all other contractions will be very easy for you. Quotation marks. Quotation marks indicate that somebody directly said something. Something like, Hamza talked about quotation marks in his lecture, would go in quotation marks because I'm saying that you would say that. You always put the full stop, comma, or other punctuation mark inside the quote. Okay, so Anything that is a comma, a full stop, an exclamation mark, a question mark, or any other form of punctuation will always go inside the quotation mark. Hamza talked about quotation marks in his lecture. Full stop, said Pradeep to Alex. Notice that the sentence inside the quote is separate from the sentence outside the quote. You can think of it as being a set. Set 1 is inside of set 2. In formal English, you cannot use contractions. Unless your apostrophe is being used to express ownership, do not use it. In a formal English email, you do not ever contract words. In formal English, if the number is less than 10, you write it out instead of writing the number, i.e. 6 is proper, 6 is not. Capital letters indicate a new sentence or a proper noun. You would capitalize my name or the English language because those are proper nouns. You would not capitalize dog. Dog isn't a proper noun. You would capitalize my dog Henry. Henry is a proper noun. You also always capitalize the first word of a sentence. So now what we're going to do is grade an actual email that I wrote to Bhagashif. We are going to grade it for grammar and how much sense it makes using the grammar rules that you just learned. Hi, comma, my name is Hamza. I am a student at an American university currently in a pre-medicine undergraduate. I would like to ask you for a job. I am qualified to be an English teacher, comma, I have been tutoring in this subject for 3 years now. You'll find attached to this email a copy of my resume. I am eagerly waiting for your reply. Hamza. You'll notice that this letter has lots of mistakes in it. The very first mistake would be that it was not formal. I started with hi. Hi is not a good way to start a formal email to somebody that could potentially be your boss. That's up to you to decide whether it is or is not. Okay, what's another mistake that I made? You'll notice that I used the word you'll, right? If we go back a tiny bit, you'll notice that you'll is a contraction of the words you will. What I should have done was written the words you will. However, I wrote you'll instead, and that is bad. I should not have used that contraction in a formal letter. Something else bad that I did was that I did not give a proper ending to this email. My last sentence I left open with a comma. Usually what you do is you write the greeting, put a comma, space, you write your letter, and then you write your ending, and then you give your ending a comma. I did not give a proper ending. In some cases, that's okay. However, in some cases, that's not. You are going to have to decide whether your letter is formal enough to have an ending. Some common endings in the English language are sincerely, truly, or eagerly. Stuff like that. Just words that mean that you anticipate, you want to read the other person's reply. Here, this is somewhat acceptable, but it's preferred not to. I hope that helped. I hope you guys are ready to start writing your own CVs and resumes. I will see you guys next week. Thank you, and good luck.